Sí, el que tiene dinero tira para adelante, pero el que no, ¿a qué tiene acceso? A nada. Ni a la escuela, ni a la medicina, ni a nada. Es el gran problema de quien rige actualmente este mundo en regla general, que es el capitalismo, el salvaje, ¿no?
Who's the first artist you think of when I say political music? Bob Marley? The Clash? NWA? All great, but there's one name people often overlook. Manu Chao. In 1998, he released Clandestino, an album about injustice and life on the fringes. Today it's hailed as a masterpiece, but at the time of recording, everything was falling apart. Manu Chao drifted for years with no direction, until a chance encounter deep in the slums of Rio would change everything. This is the story of Clandestino. The son of Spanish refugees fleeing the Franco regime, Manu Chao was born in Paris in 1961. By the mid-80s, he had joined several bands, such as Hot Pants, Los Carollos, and most notably, Mano Negra. Heavily influenced by The Clash and their genre-blending approach, Mano Negra became nearly impossible to categorize, mixing punk, reggae, salsa, ska, and much more.
So you play punk, or you play reggae, or you play traditional from North Africa or salsa, and I like all this music. So to play all this music, I have to play in 5 bands. So that was the start of Mano Negra, to decide to make a band where we can play anything.
The band found success in Europe and Latin America, releasing 4 studio albums, before everything ended in 1994. Why? Because of what might be the most insane tour in music history. Mano Negra joined a traveling circus of around 100 musicians and acrobats, traversing Colombia in an old train. Along the way, they performed free shows in remote villages, bringing rock music to crowds who had never seen anything like it. Their mission? To bring joy to everyday Colombians, in what was then the most violent country in the world, plagued by cartels, guerrillas and paramilitaries.
I spent 1 year of my life in Colombia and playing in every little town, in places where even the government cannot go, even the army cannot go. We have to deal there with the guerrilla, with the paramilitaries.
The journey, documented in the book The Train of Ice and Fire, was as chaotic as it sounds. Unbearable heat, disease, the train derailed multiple times, negotiations with armed groups, and growing tension within the band. By the end of the tour, Mano Negra was finished. And Manu Chao, well, he vanished. When he finally resurfaced years later, he would return as something completely different.
We've been playing for all the countryside people, and it's one of the best adventures in my life.
In the immediate aftermath of Mano Negra's breakup, along with separating from the love of his life, Manu Chao was lost. Peter Coleshaw writes in Clandestino, in search of Manu Chao, he spent the next 3 years on an extended lost weekend, pinballing around the world, traveling throughout South America and to West Africa, depressed and often suicidal.
I became a traveling junkie. I cannot stop traveling. Now, in a certain way, for me, music is just an excuse. I want to travel.
His travels took him far and wide: Mexico, Brazil, Spain, Senegal. But no matter how far he went, or how thrilling each place, Chao remained the same. Then one rainy day in the slums of Rio, he hit rock bottom. Chao decided to end his life, when suddenly a cow walked in. I got face to face with this cow, which was lost, like me, Chao said. Just looking at the cow's eyes, I felt good. There was something immensely tender in her eyes. A cow saved my life. After that moment, everything changed. Though he had spent years drifting, Chao hadn't exactly been idle. He traveled with a portable recording device, capturing song ideas and snippets of everyday life wherever he went. Now, with a renewed lust for life, Chao decided to turn those recordings into something real. Clandestino really is 2 records in one. On the surface, it feels like a collection of laid-back reggae tunes, perfect for relaxing with a joint on a lazy summer's day. But the lyrics, well, they tell a very different story. Beneath the chill vibe, the album dives into some heavy themes, such as heartbreak, corruption, and above all, migration. Which makes sense, because the record itself was made on the move, with Manu Chao literally migrating from place to place. Anyway, that theme is made clear already from the opening track, which examines the migration from Africa to Spain. Chao tells the story from the perspective of a clandestine migrant making the dangerous journey across the sea.
Entonces llegan como pueden, porque no es fácil, se arriesgan la vida para llegar. Porque para pasar de África a Europa hay que arriesgarse la vida. Hay que pasar el estrecho, unos se quedan ahí ahogados, otros pasan. Y ya una vez ahí ya se dan cuenta que no es lo que decía la televisión, ¿no?
This first-person narrative is one of Clandestino's defining features, with Manu Chao often writing from the perspective of the marginalized, and that's actually what makes the album all the more impactful. On Welcome to Tijuana, Chao explores another form of migration, from Latin America to the US. This time, the focus is on the Mexican border town of Tijuana, where 2 very different realities collide. In one reality, the gringo migrates south for hedonistic pleasures of tequila, sexo, marijuana. In the other, desperate migrants hand over their life savings to a coyote, a human trafficker, to take them across the Rio Grande, the final, often deadly stretch of their long journey. Since 2017, it's claimed over 1,000 lives by drowning.
Los gallos, señores, se oye gritar. Jueguen los gallos, señores, ¿quién ganará?
Welcome to the Pan American Death, sings Manu Chao.
Bienvenida la muerte por la Panamericana.
On the final track, El Viento, Chao ties it all together with a more abstract meditation on the topic. The wind comes, the wind goes, across the border, he sings. The wind is never clandestine. It moves freely across borders, unnoticed and without repercussion.
Viento viene, el viento se va por la frontera.
The point is clear. Borders are human inventions, born out of history, power and ambition. In reality, we all belong to Pachamama, the earth. And this, I believe, is the true message of Clandestino, because at its core, it's truly a global record. The album can pretty much be summed up as a world collage, an eclectic fusion of salsa, ska, reggae, folk and dub. It's sung in 5 languages and layered with field recordings and sound bites from around the globe, recorded by Manu Chao himself.
Technology brought something to me that I was expecting for all my life, is little studios that you can bring with you. So all you need is to plug in. And so I record everywhere I'm traveling. I'm like a photographer or like a journalist. I take pictures of the moment.
Each song seamlessly blends into the next, taking us on a sprawling journey across Latin America. Its samples range from the Mesoamerican legend of La Llorona
Te quiero más que a mi vida, Llorona, ¿Qué más quieres? Quiero más que a mi vida llorona. ¿Qué más quieres? ¿Quieres más?
To Colombian cumbia, and speeches by Subcomandante Marcos, the Zapatista figurehead fighting for indigenous rights in Chiapas, Mexico.
Para nosotros, la dignidad insurrecta. Para nosotros, el futuro negado. Para nosotros, nada.
Sound-wise, Clandestino is really unlike anything that came before it. We felt like we had given birth to a UFO, producer Renaud Letang said after finishing the mix. When they played the album for Virgin Records, executives didn't believe it would sell. Manu Chao himself was convinced it would be his last album. And at first, he wasn't far off. Clandestino was released in April 1998. Despite good reviews, it failed to gain any real traction. However, a full year after its release, something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, Clandestino gained momentum by the word of mouth of backpackers around the world. Koh Samui, Thailand. Puerto Escondido, Mexico. Ibiza, Spain. Almost prophetically, its rise mirrored the album's spirit of travel, and slowly but surely, it began climbing the charts. Today, it sold over 5 million copies, making it among the best-selling world music albums of all time. Clandestino is a masterpiece, an anthem for the marginalized. Manu Chao's upbringing and multilingualism make him essentially borderless, giving him access to stories across the world. And on Clandestino, he fuses those stories into a single, cohesive work of art. And the album feels more relevant today than ever. Released at the turn of the millennium, when there was still optimism for the future, things have now taken a darker turn. More people migrate than ever, risking their life in search of a better future. They're the slaves of the modern world, working for pennies so that greedy corporations can maximize profit. The businesses in the States need workers with no papers, Manu Chao said, because they have no rights and can be hired and fired at will and paid poverty wages. In parts of Latin America, like El Salvador, Honduras and Nicaragua, remittances make up for a huge share of the economy. How many of those people are clandestine, undocumented, unable to return, perhaps ever to see their families? In a social media age that demands your opinion on every single issue, the world feels more divided than ever, especially on the topic of migration. On Clandestino, Manu Chao steps into the shoes of everyday struggling people. Instead of reducing them to statistics, he tells their story, and in doing so, shows their humanity. Because regardless of how divided we think we are, in reality, we're not that different. And Manu Chao proves it. You don't need to understand any of the languages he sings in. The music speaks to us all, no matter race, color, religion, or creed. Hello! If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Every little action helps me make more music documentaries like these. Thanks again, until next time, bye bye.